So our next question is from Mrs. Pushkala Gopal. Please, please unmute yourself once again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So this is a very practical, possibly a selfish question addressed to Viren Bhai. I'm the daughter of a late Major General and the wife of a late civil servant, IAS officer. In my professional life, I'm a dance teacher, so I'm one of the craftspeople who's always paid a little less than due. Now, if I wanted to save up and get one of your pieces as a heritage piece for my granddaughter in the next few years, which one would you recommend?
Oh, that's a tough question. That's a very, very difficult question because it's like asking me, how many children do you have, may I ask?
I have 2 children.
Okay, so which one is your favorite?
No. Okay.
No, I'm getting to you.
My son is my favorite because I do all my charity work through him. He's done a good job. My daughter is my favorite because she's taken on my tradition of teaching music and dance.
Well said.
So my life is covered. But from your point of view, what could I buy from you that you have put your signature on that I can afford?
Well, first of all, so let me put it this way. You already answered my question when you said that both your children are your favorites, right? So that clearly answers my question because all my pieces are my favorite, what I produce. Because each one is produced with great love. And with the equal amount of love. There's no, is that I love one less and one more. No. In fact, every time we sell something, we feel there's a little twinge we feel because we are parting with something. So you whatever you buy from us is going to be, is very special for one. How much you can afford to pay, I don't know. And that is something which we'll have to discuss when you visit me in Mumbai. So that's when we can. But I'll be happy to entertain you. At least it'd be an honor if you come and visit us and see what we do. Because that'll give you an idea of what we produce.
But to rephrase it, what is your lowest priced ring or pendant?
Did you hear the full talk? Because I said I don't have a head for numbers. So I genuinely don't know what things are priced there and sell because I'm not involved.
Your sons then.
Exactly.
But I will come and see your work.
Yeah.
For the
so you have to come. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I loved your thought from Ms. Ruchi Padya. I loved your thought that the machine should be used to enhance the karigari, not to replace the karigar. It's just a statement. There's another question. The sad part is everyone is into fast production, fast earning, don't want to pay labor for handmade products. How will this dying art survive?
So I think we already addressed that question earlier, that it's a very difficult question to answer. And like I said earlier, is that I think we need to educate people spread more awareness about what goes into making fine, things. And like I said, so more exhibitions, spreading awareness amongst the youth, making it interesting for the youth to go and see and understand. I think that is the key. And that will make them appreciate, like I see a lot of in the West, when what they market as they call luxury, they make it so cool and hip. That's why you see our children want to go and flock at stores there and buy, which is not actually handmade, but what they consider is a very special thing, and they go and buy. Whereas the same, you have to go and buy a Kashmir shawl from Kashmir, which is made by that guy. It's taken him 1 year to make, and our children are not interested. So clearly there has to be a certain amount of marketing involved in this, clever enough to make it cool for the kids to, understand this. All these, I am not a marketing person at all. In fact, we've never marketed. We've never advertised a single, in my 31 years in the business here in this shop, never advertised a single day. So, but there's clearly a gap here which needs to be filled.
Why are youth not going for such trainings in the karigari business?
Good question again. I think because there is, of course, that times have changed. Today, the options for a young person, career-wise, is vast. When we were younger, I remember when I was in college, there were only 3 or 4 disciplines one could study in. It was art, science, business. literally three. So you either become an engineer, lawyer, doctor, or accountant, I guess. So there are very few professions literally where one studied for. Today you can be a DJ, you can be a chef, you can be in the web designer. There's so many, like, thousands of possibilities. So I think the options are so much more that children don't want to slave on a table and with a file and a saw and make things. So clearly, one has to educate people to understand what this is. And like I said earlier, first, of course, remuneration, respect, making it a very respectable profession. People should understand how respectable it is and what a great thing it is, what a contribution it makes to our culture and for our country. If that awareness comes in, I think the youngsters will probably be interested, I think.
How many different kinds of arts are there in India? Meenakari, Polki, are there different?
Well, see, I'm not a historian, but I can tell you that with what little knowledge I have. So India is vast, and it's if you travel to India, you see that jewelry in every part of India is very different, right? But there are some elements which are common to, like there's a common thread which binds them in some way. But clearly, what jewelry made in Rajasthan or jewelry made in the South is very different in style and in taste. And that's the way it should be, because I love the fact that in South, what they wear, the gold jewelry which they wear, is clearly inspired by their culture, whereas what is made in the North is inspired by theirs. So there's a great variety. It's like our food, right? It's a great variety in the kind of jewelry which is made across India. So to put that in a nutshell, I think it's very varied all over the jewelry that we do. There's great skills everywhere. The craftsmen are as skilled as in the north, I mean, say in Bikaner, as they are in Cochin or in Chennai or wherever they are. It's a really vast subject and vast continent, which to define in a nutshell, actually, to put everything into one.
Yeah. One of our talks we had was with Mr. Paul, who has, like, the entire south of India. We used to have a lot of evergreen forests, and they were erased at the time of the British colonialism, and they've been trying to reforest. And if you see our forest departments, they'll put the same kind of tree, 1,000 or 10,000 trees. Now, this man and his team had gone to the entire Coromandel coast and collected seed by seed. And they would find rarely one, go to a temple and they would manage to see 2 surviving trees in a temple. They would collect those seeds, make it into 10, then to 20, and then 10,000 trees, and then have a very diverse forest. Like that, how do you see that we protect our heritage, our karigari, so that it goes for another 1,000 years? Because when I had gone to Russia, I had seen our Indian jewelry probably given by our kings 1,000 years ago, and I still see karigars making them today. So to ensure that these intricate works still continue, and the design and the workmanship is still protected and saved, is there anything you could suggest?
I think the first thing is very clearly is patronage, because that's what saves which actually makes any art or any profession survive. It's like if people didn't listen to classical Indian music, there would be no musicians around, because if you're a trained dancer and you have to perform in a hall, and if there's not a single person in the audience, you're not going to dance again, right? So clearly, patronage is the first step, I think, to get people to patronize the arts, these dying arts. Like I mentioned earlier, that there are a lot of institutions and NGOs which are involved now in reviving these lost arts. I know that in Maheshwar there's a movement has tried to revive the Maheshwari sari. Similarly, there's something in Maharashtra. I'm sure there's something in where you are. So I think patronage is the way forward, and education, awareness, knowledge, which the youth have to realize that this is something which we cannot lose. We should not lose. We have to hold on to. Like you go to Japan, I see that they are, however modern they are in everyday life, a Japanese in his house is traditional Japanese, and they hold on to their typical Japanese way of life with great pride and strength. They don't want to become anybody else. They don't want to be so, and that's why all their arts have survived very beautifully. All their lacquer making, and I mean, there's so many different arts in Japan which have survived and they're thriving because the Japanese themselves patronize their own arts. It's not like they're waiting for tourists to come and buy. So the same way, we are such a vast country. We need to just patronize ourselves. We don't need to look outside at all.
And that's so important what you said about education also. If we can begin courses in schools to encourage students to learn
Absolutely.
about our art, our handicrafts, at that age when they begin to appreciate and learn the beauty of it, that will go a long way in expanding the patronage at a later age.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, if you see our school syllabus today, it's all rote learning about, and about things which you don't even remember after 5 years. It's not, I mean, sometimes you wonder, I'm not trying to criticize the educational system, but I think that there has to be some kind of, they need to focus on other things which our country has very clearly. And culture has never been on the government's agenda. How many museums do we have? You go to a place like Moscow, there are 60 private museums in Moscow, private museums. So, in a country like India, which has more art and more history than anywhere on the planet, we have very few institutions. There are very few private museums. People don't want to invest. So there's a lot to be done. If you want to save all this, at every level.
Is there any particular karigari which is going extinct? Like I see a lot of weaving techniques which are going extinct. In the jewellery making, do you see anything going extinct?
Not really, because what has happened is, as far as my knowledge, I'm not really very knowledgeable about this because I'm very involved with what I do. But for example, if you see the Kundan style of jewelry, it's very popular today, and you see it everywhere on every wedding. People are wearing Kundan jewelry. So the art of making Kundan jewelry is very much there, but it has changed. And I think it's probably more suited to today's taste or whatever. So the skills are there, but in my opinion, it has gone down. It is not made with the same quality of what was produced 150 years ago. So the craftsmen are there. They're churning it out much faster and making it bigger and whatever giving a look to it. But the quality and the fineness and refinement is lost in that. And I mean, that is something to lament, to worry about.
One more question is, can you throw some light on the significance of wearing jewelry according to Indian culture and tradition?
Oh, wow. So I remember reading this, and this was a very beautiful thing, is that, according to our Hindu scriptures, the divine resides amongst each and every person. We always consider that every person is divine because the divine resides within us. And so by wearing jewelry, you're paying homage to the divine within you. So that's why people wear jewelry, because you're actually paying homage to the Lord himself. It is not just to adorn the human body, but it has got a much more cultural, and it's got a lot more depth. And that's why they say that we don't wear gold around our ankles. That is only for the gods, because the divine. So that's why you put your jewelry on your body. You don't generally wear so much on your feet or anywhere. You wear it more on your. that's what I remember reading this, and I thought that was a wonderful way of explaining why Indians wear jewelry. I think it's great.
Also, thanks to our culture, the marriages and other festivals that we celebrate, that keeps the arts going, that we spend so much on these handcrafted jewelry or saris or other items, that keeps on the cycle ongoingly throughout the year.
Absolutely. I think, I think the Indian wedding market is responsible for a lot of, the crafts thriving, especially I mean, they may have changed direction in terms of taste or whatever, like clothes have become, Indo-Western and all that. With that, I can't even comment because I don't understand it. But having said that, things, at least that has at least given a lot of employment to a lot of people. The Indian wedding. It's a huge market, isn't it? So I think that's a great thing, in some way.
It keeps the industry going.
Going, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
So in schools, if we want to introduce, Vishwa is coming out with the Vishwa Talks Junior and Vishwa Talks for the youth. Every twice a month, we're planning to come out with talks. How can we introduce art with these students? How can we inspire them? How could we motivate them? How could we expose them to this great art that India has?
I wish I had an answer for that. It's a very good thought that to introduce this in schools. Because in schools we are taught craft, right? You're taught to do drawings, cut with your scissor, make things with paper and stuff like that. So then why can't we introduce them to make or build things? Whichever way. It can be, like you said, like suppose we are taught to string beads or make a piece of jewelry or something like that. That gets the early interest of the child. So I think that having craft is important. And I think the stress is not there. Like in when I was in school, drawing was one subject, but it was not an important subject. If the child did well in drawing, he was not considered a bright child, where someone who got, say, 100 or 100 in maths or in science was considered brilliant. But the guy who did a beautiful drawing was not considered clever. So clearly that the focus is different. It's not, we are thinking wrong, I think. Right? So I think that making that an important part of the syllabus would change things. Where it's given as that much weight and importance, I think.
Why is it that we don't have design universities in our country?
In fact, I was going to ask you the same question. Then why don't we have it?
Yeah, why should Paris have? Why should New York have? Why shouldn't we have it in India? I mean, India is the motherland of most arts.
Exactly. Yesterday, I had this gentleman visiting me from Geneva. He used to be the former chairman of Sotheby's, which is a big auction house. And he's a dear friend of mine. And he was invited by the Gem and Jewelry Export Promotion Council because they had a function in Mumbai where they were giving awards to designers and artisans, which is wonderful. I think that was a great platform. So he was very happy with the whole function. He said it's such a wonderful initiative by the Gem and Jewelry Council, Export Promotion Council, to do this. And so we are discussing, where's India's position in the world of jewelry and stuff like that. And he's a highly knowledgeable man. And he said that we both agreed on that why can't, I used to always travel around the world, go to Hong Kong, Switzerland, America, all the different countries to jewelry fairs where all the great dealers and everything came together. And we don't have a great show in India. And he's saying that you go to all these shows, 70% of the buyers and exhibitors are Indians, but they're not in India. They go to a different country to show it. Why can't we do it here in India? So, clearly, we need to do all these things here in this country. We don't need to look out and do it. We can make it international here. Now, how that happens, clearly the authority, the government, along with, in partnership with the industry, has to bring it about. So this is where we lack. And we need to have that foresight that this is where we need to go.
My father was a minister of textiles at one point, and me being a dreamer, always coming out with ideas, I'd asked him, we have DBN mills in Hyderabad, which are sitting probably acres of land sitting in right on Tangban, which is dilapidating. So I was suggesting, why don't you put a university for art in India out there? But I was just a child and I couldn't make any difference.
Yeah.
Vishwa is my way of contributing back to our country.
How wonderful. That's a great initiative. I'm not aware. I know that the JJ School of Arts, which is a philanthropical institution run by the Gigi Boy family, and they are friends of mine, and it is run by them. It is truly a great institution. In fact, my wife who studied at the JJ School of Art, she did textile design at the JJ School of Art. It's still thriving as an institution, and I think we need more of those kind of institutions where to teach design and art. Very serious, like a degree. Not something to just pass your time. So,
in fact, our request is to all the industrial houses, become custodians of an art of India. You want to be a pharmaceutical owner? Pick up a textile, which is going away, which is getting into extinction. Start, like Aditya Birla, I understand, has started Adyam, which is showcasing Banaras materials and other textiles. If each industrial house can adopt one, like as you said, the JJ School of Arts, if they can adopt one art form in India, and if they could do something about it so that the artists get a place to show their wares, I think that would be great. This is just a request to our audience to share.
To step forward. Absolutely, I agree completely. Because we need to get we need a backing by big institutions. They need to back this. Individuals can work, but they can't make the difference which an institution makes. So having an industrial house back it is wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There is a question from Megha Jain. You highly recommended networks to connect with highest quality craftsmen for young jewelry designers to design and collaborate.
I'm sorry, Ken.
Question, Miss Megha Jain. Okay, I'll go to the next one. Art and design is. How do you see couture jewelry in India and the future opportunities for the upcoming jewelry designers?
I think it's a vast market out there. I think there's great potential because India has a great culture for wearing jewelry, which has been around for thousands of years. Even today, this is the same conversation I had yesterday. But the beauty of India is that people don't buy jewelry for an occasion. Like in the West, it is either for an anniversary or for a birthday or for a very special day. People go and buy something from a jewelry shop. Here, even the poorest of the poor, if they save some money, they'll run and go and buy a little bit of gold or they buy jewelry. So it's a cultural thing. We buy jewelry all the time. I've never seen any woman around the street. The street, she'll have some jewelry on her, whether it's silver or whatever, but she has jewelry. So it's a great culture for jewelry. It's a cultural thing. So I think India, there's a great potential, there's a huge market, and there's great future for design in this country.
There's a question. Do you have a brand name for your jewelry, or is it?
Yeah, it's our family name, Bhagat. That's our brand.
So I think with this, we will close all questions. Unless anybody wants to, you can raise a hand, or else with this, we will close the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the very best in your endeavor. It's very noble what you're doing. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you.